Well, hello. Yeah, the video I'm working on now, the video that will follow, is going to be about auction sourcing, considering lots in an auction. It's like a game you can play at home. It won't cost you anything. But as I go through these auctions, and I think there's 3 of them in this batch, take a look at what you might buy, or what's in your niche, or what niche might you want to move into. I'm not sure whether I'm an eclectic seller because that's what's available in my area, or whether I gravitate to these auctions because I'm an eclectic seller. You know, it's a chicken and egg question. Do I watch these auctions because I source in many areas? Or do I source in many areas because these are the auctions that are available to me? But of course, now that auctions are willing to ship many, many small items, you can actually look at nationwide auctions and consider them for sourcing opportunities. For instance, I especially like military items. I'll be packing one tonight. This is an Australian military plaque for an air squadron, and I've sold it. And these auctions that I'll be showing you tonight, pretty much across the board, lots of different categories, lots of different lots, a variety of items. And some of these auctions I won't bid all that often, but there is an auction in my area that comes up once a month or so, and it primarily focuses on military items. They have a brick and mortar store over in the city north of Seattle, and they put their surplus online. And when they do, I might tag 200 of their 300 or 400 items, go ahead and consider them for purchasing. So I'll take the camera down and see if there's anything interesting. I'll be packing this plaque and an old power distribution book with some interesting maps. I'm not going to unfold the maps, but I'm sure somewhere in the listing I took a few photos, and these maps are like, one of them's 3 foot long, 3.5 foot long, and then there's a flow chart showing all the companies that drew power off the electric grid in the year that book was produced. So I'm back in my lowrider Adirondack chair. But yeah, I'll tag 200, 250, 300 lots. And as the bid price pushes up, I'll remove those that are impractical. Now, if I were to win enough of those, I've actually driven around to collect them, because the postage starts to get excessive when you're picking up 20, 25 lots, or you've decided on one that includes maybe a cavalry officer sword or a naval officer sword, because the package length starts to become problematic. And even though she normally ships directly to my door and I cover the cost of the shipping, if there's something that I think, yeah, maybe it's too fragile to ship, maybe I want to get something over length, I'll just send her a note that says I'll drive around. I want enough lots today that I'll drive around and collect those in person. And when I do that, I try to make multiple stops and pick up items at several auctions when that happens. Perhaps the Renton auction, they're open business hours 4 or 5 days a week, so I can normally empty my totes at the Renton auction at the same time. But it's still, you're fighting the traffic through the greater Seattle area. Okay, I've got the Nonstop app up on my Pixel 6 so that I can flip between me and the computer laptop screen. And we're going to take a look at some auctions. In that last video, we talked about sourcing at auctions. Tonight, I want to actually take a look at some that are closing this week. I think we've got 3 of them. The first one closes tonight. The others, bidding is open, but they'll close in a day or 2. But we'll take a look at some of the auctions, the styles, the different details, and the terms of the contract, because you have to register to bid, and in effect, that's a contract. Generally, though, the only thing they can really do to enforce the terms of their contract is to lock you out from using their services in the future. Sometimes it'll almost threaten you for performance, but the reality is that they have very little control over you as long as you're willing to lose the amount you've bid. Because the first thing you'll notice with many of these auctions is you pre-register a credit card. So as soon as the auction's over and you have basically done your last bidding, they will charge your card. But the reality is through your credit card company, if you believe you've been treated unfairly or they're not doing what their part of the contract says they will, There's always the chargeback method, and I hate to recommend that because normally most reputable auction companies will resolve the issue if you simply make them aware of it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip the phone. We'll take a look. Auctions in general come in about three types, in the sense that they're either curated, not curated, or partially curated. And in this case, curated means you're buying either individual items, select items that have been grouped, or completely random items that happen to appear in the corner of an estate, closet of a moving sale, and they make very, very little attempt to define what's in the lot other than to show you a photo and say, this stuff is the lot. Some of them even go so far as to shoot the corner of a garden shed or a garage, and they make it a you take what you want from the pile and leave the rest. That's about the least curated form. But as we go through this, you'll notice that some of these companies are better at curating and describing the lots than others. Okay, on the screen right now, you've got an auction company that curates and describes. Sometimes, though, the lots are a bit larger, a bit unmanageable, and the descriptions, you just wish they had more. If we were to go to look at this and zoom in, you can see that their descriptions are reasonable. It says you're getting a Power Ranger Kyoryu Sentai Zyranger DX Dragon. Now there you go. Now, yesterday, when I looked at the items, and you can see how I've tagged them with hearts, I went through this earlier in the week and tagged the lots because they had several pages worth, and a lot of them just weren't something I was interested in. So to narrow the field down, I put a watch or a heart or a tag on those. But if we were to go into this, you would see that there's a repeat of it. Shipping is available, so that's good. This is at a private residence in a town called Kingston, which is about an hour, bit more than an hour away from me, and it posts the pickup dates. Now, those are all important things and can affect the final price. If the auction closes at an odd time, like early in the morning, or pickup is early in the morning, a lot of people who work day jobs aren't going to be able to bid. A lot of commercial auctions are that way. They figure that the people doing the bidding are simply going to take off from work because they're buying the stuff for work and drive over. Now you'll notice, like many auction sites or eBay, there are additional photos. You can zoom in to see bigger ones. You can come down and you can watch there's his tail. You can perhaps get some close-up details, some other views, and right there it reiterates the fact that this item can be shipped. So that's one of the key points. A lot of auction companies intermix lots that can be shipped with lots that can't be shipped. And it's up to you, the bidder, to know the difference and be able to pay attention to that. All right, so if we come down through here, here's some McFarlane toys. Yesterday, most of these lots were sitting at $0 or $1. And it's unusual to see them get that close and not have at least a minimal $1, $2 bid. Here's an item that still has a $1 bid. Let's take a look at what that is. Transformers, Optimus Prime Autobots. That really surprised me that that's sitting at $1. Let's take a look. Sometimes they'll tell you if there's damage. Nope, this company rolls right into watch the video of this auction or pickup details. But some of them, if there were a known problem, it would appear here in the item description. They might tell you it's missing a battery cover or it's obviously incomplete, something like that. The absence of such a note, though, does not guarantee that the item is complete. Now, this particular auction, the company that's running it does not control this website. This is an auction hosting website. So the company that's running this auction is basically borrowing or paying to use the services of another company. This is similar to an eBay auction. You don't own eBay just because you're running an auction on eBay. It does mean that you've got two parties involved. One is the administrator for the website. The other is putting in the details about the specific auction. And if you were to call the company that's hosting the web and get their voicemail, it would say that if you've got a problem with a recent sale, a lot, the pickup information, contact the seller directly, because they try to disavow the actual details about any specific auction. Their concerns are managing the website and the hosting. Let's have a look here. More vintage transformers. More vintage transformers. Here you got Gundam, another very popular franchise. That bidding is sitting at $21, and the bidding on this lot closes in 18 minutes. Now let's look at how well they did. For instance, here's a toy knife. I'm not quite sure what that has to do. This looks like Thor's hammer. So you can see that even though they've primarily tried to curate this and say they're Gundam figures, here's a truck. So they're making no real attempt other than they've laid out a bunch of toys. They're giving you the close-up details. You can log in and have a look. There you go. You can see it here. Some of these are obviously Gundam figures, not a Gundam figure. All right, let's have a little more look. Tote of Legos. Legos are a very popular item. Well, you got at least one box there, but I doubt if they'll tell you anything about it being complete or incomplete. It looks like a bunch of random Legos. Let's read the description. A tote full of Legos, assorted shapes and sizes, a whole bunch of pieces. Tote is included. It's about half full, plus the Lego box has some more in it. So again, they're making no attempt at all to claim that this is a complete kit or that you're getting enough of anything to assemble a given kit. Random Legos. Next page, vintage stereo equipment. Comes up at a lot of estate sales. Transformer Beast Wars. All right, this is the other type of thing you can find at these sales. So you'll notice that this is a completely uncurated lot. It's light bulbs. It's probably every loose light bulb in the house. But if you were in need of some floodlights or some incandescent lights or some random lights down here, you would probably only have to pay about enough to go down to the hardware and buy 2 lights. There you go. You can see the prices sitting at $5 for the current bid. Doesn't mean it'll close at $5 with 21 minutes left. Okay, here's one of those buyer's pick lots that I was talking about. Take what you want, leave what you don't need. It includes car parts, tire chains, and cast iron. So what you have here is probably every loose thing in the corner of the garage that they didn't think they could sell separately as a curated lot. And if we were to come down here and look, tire chains, charcoal. Oh, here's a car. Here's some car parts. Here's a camp lantern. Fire starter and an ash bucket. Oh, here's a tool, or at least a tool accessory. Possibly some tackle boxes. More than likely you'd get the tote. That's how I got most of my totes years ago, was simply buying auction lots. A couple of speakers, but again, you don't have to take them if you don't want them. Random kitchen and camping items. That might be a good lot to leave. All right, don't know who made it. It's all about the maker on an item like that. Fire bricks, 2 sets. Now see, if I were to buy this, I would take the fire bricks, as long as I had room in the vehicle, send those out to another auction that does box lots. Oh, there's a small child's chair. Bunch of extension cords. I'm not even sure what all that one is. And some odds and ends in the bottom of a box. So obviously there's some value here. But the question is it worth the time to drive and collect it and then have to pack it back, sort through it, sift through it to find the items that might be able to go on eBay or Facebook, and then deal with the rest? Now here's a collection of vintage Star Wars trading cards, so non-sports trading cards. Beakers. Look like they may still be new. Doesn't say so. Sausage stuffer. I remember making holiday sausage with these type of items. Here's a collection of vintage English and Japanese, probably Pokemon. Let me open this and look at that price. $145 for a binder with some Pokemon cards. So obviously Pokemon is still a good thing. 2 carved ivory tanto swords and a boot dagger. All right. That's up to $21 here. You can see it. Go back here and look at page 2. Books. You can always find a lot of books at an estates type sale. Some old Polaroid cameras. Board games. 2 lots of board games. This one's at $1. I do sell board games. I sell board game pieces as well, but I try to look for unusual games. That looks like a Star Wars Monopoly, something called Lie Detector, which I've never heard of. Scrabble's one of those items that you can sell just the tiles. And of course, they make no guarantee at all that any of these are complete. And this one cannot be shipped. So because the volume collectively is larger, so that's a partially curated lot. GameStop steering wheel and some video games and some game guides. So here you can see a binder with loose discs, some game guides down here, some accessories over here. Let's see what this one's up to. $8. Could find a single video game there that might do the job for you. Pee Wee Herman, not as popular since he got himself in trouble. But they've included some Assassin's Creed, some Batman. Here's some Pez. I think that's the Lord of the Rings Pez set. And of course, old Pee Wee. And it's up to $20. Somebody likes seeing something in there. Godzilla and miniature Godzilla figures. There you go. That one's up to a $21 lot. Transformers Revenge. Now these are bigger. So these are probably not available for shipping. Looks like some Tonka say not available for shipping. And these, of course, are very large. That's your Kenner Batman Returns Wayne Manor Batcave and a Kenner Batjet from The Dark Knight. And it looks like a couple of figures being thrown in as well. In this case, it was probably the seller who's had this company come in and do the auction for them who put these together, because sometimes that happened. The consignor who's leaving town, or the executor, or maybe a member of the estate, hires a company like this to come in and set up the auction, and then another company is the host website. All right, so here you've got a miscellaneous figure, Power Rangers, some more Power Rangers. These are the ones that were sitting at just $1 yesterday. Some vintage Star Wars over here. Now, if you wanted to back out and take a look at everything in the auction, you can see that what I had selected were the smalls that I would want to pick up and deal with. But the auction also included bookcases, furniture, sofas, and we don't really deal in that stuff anymore unless it's something very special. And then here, of course, is the first item I had tagged to watch. These are not tagged, so they don't come up in a closer search. Now, auctions like this, they have a couple challenges. If figurines and little toys aren't your usual forte, but you're thinking about branching out. If they're out of the package, it's hard for me to say, is that a Lego Bionicle? Is that a Gundam figure? Is that from some McFarlane set? But you can see that they're definitely not all the same. You got cars, that might even be Star Wars. But one of the things that has made this whole process easier is that Google Lens is now right in with my Mac. So if I can get a clear grab on one of these figures, see, it comes over and it says, this is a Transformer ROTF, Revenge of the Fallen, Voyager class action figure. Now that's an awful lot of detail. But if we come down here just a little bit further, we can see that someone on eBay is trying to get $35. So if we click into that, we can go compare. Now see, they've got the manual. Theirs may be more complete. But if we take this title and we copy it, we can start to look at how many of them might be on eBay and see no exact match found. It's part of that as a fault with eBay's search engine. We should have at least got the one we copied it from because it wasn't a sold listing, but we didn't. We know what the current bid is up to for that one single item. But we don't really know if it's complete because we didn't find a good example. So the question comes down to, would you risk $11 plus the time and money to go collect the lot to get that, to learn a little something about it? Now, before Google Image and other programs like that, it was extremely difficult once these were out of the package to identify them. Now, on the other hand, this lot includes 3 figurines, 2 of which are still in their package. So if we do the same thing and we come down here and we put this into Google Image, it tells us what it is. It's a McFarlane figure. All right. So on eBay, again, it doesn't come right back up with the item. Now there's one. $16.91, $20 shipping. So that starts to give you an idea. If we can find a couple of them by doing the copy and paste, we can then ask to see the solds. And that's how we would do it. And like I say, if I was serious about this particular auction, $36 free delivery. And if we come over here and we say solds, got to scroll down now, we can start to see what the selling range for these are. $23.99, $6 shipping. This is a different one. There are so many variations on these that sometimes all you can do is kind of come up with a general idea. But say these were to sell in the $20 range plus some shipping. And we came back here to this screen. You'd go, well, $20, $40, maybe another $10 for the one that's out of the packaging. You're looking at about $50 worth of items. And you've got to either have them shipped to you or drive over to collect. And as you do that, you've got to be thinking about fees, always thinking about fees. They're going to charge you a commission. If you don't have a reseller certificate, they're going to charge you some sales tax. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to have to pay eBay or whatever platform you use to sell them. All right, let's look at what they're realizing on some of these. $58 on that Beast Wars Transformer, $272 for the electronics. Now, I definitely, if I was going to go, if there was enough there to justify the trip, I'd bid on this item because I sell things like tire chains that are still sealed in the packs all the time. Here's a set of books. It says nearly complete, $151. Speakers, $53. Sausage stuffer, a dying art, making your own sausage, $145 on the Pokemon cards. $21 on the old cameras. Old Pee Wee and Friends, $20. $27 on the vintage Power Rangers Zeo Deluxe Pyramid. So you can see what these are basically climbing as it goes closer and closer to the hammer on each individual item. Some of them jump considerably at the end. Others, the majority of the bidding's been done in the last 24 hours. That pretty much covers that auction. So those are the type of auctions I use to pick up my items, to source. And I have to decide each time, is there enough there within the price range that allows me to make a profit to justify the drive or the shipping? Now I'm going to turn the camera around again, and we're going to take a look at a different auction platform. Now this next auction platform, they run their own website, so they're not on another host site. So they have complete control over their web page, how it looks, the rules for managing the admin on the page, and then they also set up the rules for each individual auction, what the buyer's premium is, when the pickup days are going to be. And because this company does it all in a couple of large warehouses, they tend to do 2 auctions a week, and they alternate. They'll do a Tuesday closing auction and a Thursday closing, and they alternate between the 2 warehouses. And in this case, the items are brought to their warehouses. That first auction I was showing you, that was an on-site private residence. This one is done in the warehouse, so you know the distance. You're going the same distance each week to collect your items. You get to know the people, they're there in the staff, you know the routine. With the other one, they usually don't show you the actual address. They give you a city, but they don't show you the actual address until after you've won at least one item. Then it appears on your invoice, and you can finally take a look at the Google map, see how far it is, what the drive time is, and whether or not there are going to be some issues around the house, like limited parking or a bad area to do pickups. The next one, these guys do it inside of a controlled environment in a warehouse. They've been around for many, many years, and they're a reliable company. All right, let's take a look at what they're offering. They always have at least 2 going on. All right, and I haven't done any tagging on this auction. But these guys are even offering delivery in the local area, because they're a much bigger operation. They've got panel trucks. They sell cars and firearms. So they're handling bigger items. Cement mixer. Now, as I go through here, since I'm logged in, I'm just scrolling past. Hopefully it's slow enough not to give you a headache. And when I come to a lot that I personally would be interested in, either for my own use or for a business asset to resell, I don't particularly need any of these, but this is how I acquired my Metro style shelving. I actually bought it, now and then, occasionally at auctions over time. This one has the wheels, which are important. It has the bumpers. This one looks to be about a 4-foot wide model. Shelves are adjustable. And I like these because even fully loaded, you can still move them around. Because they have them, and I haven't tagged anything yet, see how it turned into a solid blue? Current bidding's $30. They're at a $5 bid increment at this point in the auction. Remember, the higher the number climbs, the larger the bid increment becomes. This one's also at $35. Sometimes it's funny because if you have multiple items that are the same or similar, one of them will get a lot more attention because maybe it's first in the order of sale, and it'll go much higher, and then a later one will be less. You see that even on auctions where they're getting pallet loads of repetitive items in, so they're all still in the box. Well, another company I use, it spreads those items out. And see, that's an administrative question. If I have 4 identical items, do I cluster them together so the same person might want to bid on all of them? Or do I put one on each page and spread them out throughout the auction? Well, this company tends to cluster them together. The other company tends to spread them out. And often that last one that's buried deep into the auction will get a completely different bid on it. Okay, assorted children's toys and books. So let's click on it and see if we can tell. Some of them look sealed. And if we come up here, this shows us all those thumbnails. And then if you want to see the description to see what it says, building blocks, puzzles, board games, books, Legos, and refer to the photos. So let's have a look. And that's what you would get if you bid on this lot. And if you were interested in following it, because this auction closes on July 1st. So we're still 2 days and 22 hours from closing. Now these guys tend to sell a mix of used items, items from storage units, and consigners, as well as pallets of new old stock. And they also use these rolling style racks to do their odd lots, the leftovers from each consigner or estate. And they'll load these racks. You don't get the rack, but you get everything on the rack as one bid. And some people like that. Mini refrigerators. It's a lawnmower, but you see these words here? That means they can't test it or don't know. So you're buying it as is. This one even goes on to further say non-functioning, no compression. So that definitely is a parts and repair. Filters, gorilla racks, fishing rods and reels. I don't tend to do much in that category anymore ever since the overlength surcharge came along. But here you can see you're getting some small items as well as a number of rods. So if fishing gear was your category of choice, lots like that would be good. Now see, here's some of the jewelry. All these auctions tend to get jewelry. And let's see what it says. Marked 14K, held on the acid test. So they're saying they confirmed it with an acid test. And they're showing you the stamping and marking. And basically, that's almost a guarantee, because if you were to dispute that afterwards, that's what they stated. So the auction's only responsible for what it states either in writing or verbally by the auctioneer. And in this case, there's no verbal auctioneer. So they're responsible for what they claim, but generally the premise for auctions that don't make claims is, as is, where is, without remorse or guarantee. American flag with a display. Well, there's an interesting old item. These are actually sprinklers. They look like an old farm tractor, but you can see them here. They got a couple of wands across the top, and these drive across your lawn while watering. Used to be a good common item that we sold when I worked for the auction company. Artwork. You'll see a lot of art in these auctions. scuba diving equipment. So basically, if you can find it in somebody's house, eventually you'll see it come across an auction. Some things you'll see all the time. When a company like Walmart or Costco uh, dumps a product or seasonally discontinues a product, moves on to another vendor, you'll see pallets of the same product hit these auctions, and it'll be either unopened old stock or shelf pulls. Here's an example of one. Foster grants. And sometimes you can even tell the source because it'll be marked Kirkland or something, and that, of course, is a Kirkland signature is a Costco brand. Tools are a common item that come up. Stacks of DVDs, LPs, those are also common items that come up. Shoes, if they ended up with a pallet of overstock shoes, you'll see auctions that sell new in the box shoes, and if it happens to be something your size, and now we're getting down into the overstock from stores. You can tell just by looking at it after a time that that's what this section of their auction is. A lot of it's still in the packaging, hasn't been opened. There's an example right there. And of course, generally speaking, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the vintage, the unusual, the small and mailable. I'm not trying to sell something that they can go down to a local big box store and pick up because the margins just aren't there. If it's available to everybody across the country, who's going to buy a used one on eBay unless you deeply discount the price? All right, and that is page 5 of 5. Now here's a picnic table. And if you look closely, you can see this one's been scuffed and stained. So if this came in as a pallet item, that's probably why it ended up on the pallet. But it could also be a used item that's come out of a storage unit, or maybe somebody's moving and asked the auction company to liquidate it for them. All right, that's this company. They're closing in about 2 days, so that'll be their Tuesday auction that's closing. That was this auction. If we were to scroll a little bit lower, the next auction, which would be the Thursday auction, is this one. And if we opened that one up, you'd see another 6-page or 5-page auction with completely different items that were used or vintage, and likely some of the same new items if their pallets contained multiple quantities. And the same thing as we scroll down through here, we can take a look. Pillows, linens, rugs, those are very common on the pallets. Outdoor umbrellas. You can pretty much bet that if it's sealed or boxed, it's coming off a return or a store pull pallet. And then you've got items like this. That's a small Craftsman toolbox, says it's got 24 drawers. Sometimes they include the contents, sometimes they don't. This one has the keys. They give a size, which is always very convenient if you're thinking about taking a smaller vehicle. And it has a photo gallery. And if it included tools, they'd show them typically in the drawers. So we always like to know what toolboxes they're selling for. Here's one of those DVD lots. Probably straight out of a storage unit. Here's another one and another. Inflatable kayaks, probably right out of Costco. And they say, appears complete, don't see any issues. So it was probably a store return. Somebody bought it, decided it wasn't for them. And of course, the opening bid is $50. but who knows what it'll be when it closes, because this one has 4 days and 22 hours till closing. And then when that first one I showed you closes, they'll have set up and will have opened another one. So they've always got two auctions, at least two auctions in progress. And this is the facility that also does storage vaults, the wooden plywood storage cabinets. So they do vault storage auctions, and they put those up as their own auction. Military ammo crates, coins, those are always interesting items. I don't play in that field often. I occasionally get them when I buy junk drawer lots. I've got a whole bunch of Canadian coins that came in with some military challenge coins I photographed today. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with the Canadian coins. They were just part of the entire purchase. National Sterling Baby Cup. Not something you see very often anymore. Asian vases. But this is the type of thing that comes up at this auction. Okay, this is the third auction we'll be previewing tonight. This is another platform that acts as a host, and then individual homeowners or companies can put up their auctions. You can set, as with most of them, you can set a distance. These that are hosting companies, you can set a distance to search. And then once you've found something in your area, and of course it says right now there's only one, and it's at a town close to us called Gig Harbor. Now this company's software is one of my least favorites because it always seems to be a bit flaky. But here they're selling, this lot consists of a bunch of rings. Current bid $14. You can set your max bid as you can with most of these, and it'll bid on your behalf. The software will bid on your behalf. And this one is supposed to work in a similar manner. If we wanted to watch this one, we'd click the heart here, and it's working tonight. Yay, it doesn't always. Gemstone pendants. Rose always likes gemstones. Here's another group, so as we go through here, we'll mark a few of these gemstones. This one's all charms. Now, I don't normally play in something like this, but if you did, you could sell these by the piece or by the group, and it would be a great way to get hundreds of them. Now, I say I don't do it with pendants or with charms, but I do it with some other small things like military medals and patches and that type of thing. Vintage publications. I do like to play in that arena, so let's have a look at what this is. This one, you don't click on it. You have to click on the enlargement arrow. So, yeah, this one looks mostly like magazines, old TV guides. Not what I'm looking for. I like military texts, the old mil-spec books that taught soldiers and sailors how to do certain things. I like those. Brooches. I do occasionally end up with a lot of brooches. I like interesting shapes, interesting animals. There's lizards and dragonflies. This type of thing, the old gold tones don't appeal to me much. But the lizard, the dragonfly, unicorns are usually good. Butterflies, those type of things will sometimes sell separately. If they're marked with an old designer name, you can sometimes get some good money for them. Look at all these charms and pendants. Don't know if this was a store or a lifetime collector, but it's all going up at auction now. Here's some blown glass ones. These can be interesting. So you can see whoever set this sale up on this platform did a nice job of curating it. You've got your silver plate, you got pendants, it's all laid out. They've put in a decent description, much more so than most. Tells you how many pieces, what they know about it, needs to be polished, any markings they found. So somebody did a nice job of curating this one. So you can see that even with this lot, which is furniture, small furniture and accessories, somebody curated this. They actually pulled it from all over the house, put it together in a little collage, a little montage, and they're selling you what you see here. Other companies, they take the photos right where they sit and they sell the pieces that are conveniently on them or near them. And they, rather than moving things to cluster them, they just take the pictures as they stand. Now here's an example of one. You'll notice that both these lots are sitting on the same little table. So I'm sure it's going to say table not included. See, they used it as a prop to hold up the items. So if you wanted the table, you'd want to double check that it was included. Same is true of bookcases. Just because they're selling the books doesn't mean they're selling the bookcase. All right, that was a one-page auction in a town about an hour away from here. I don't see anything that will get my attention to convince me to drive over. All right, it's cooled off some, so I am going to go pack. Okay, first item to pack is a hat. It's in one of these low boxes that I've started using to hold hats. I often put the white ones and the black ones inside of plastic because it helps keep the dust off them. This particular hat is from a movie called Diggstown. It's a Lou Gossett Jr. movie. I have to admit that I like Lou Gossett Jr. movies. I like him as an actor, but I never saw this one, so I actually had to look this up to see what it was. It came in with a whole group of hats. Nothing terribly exciting about a hat sale. Brought us $11.79 plus shipping. Yeah, it came in with a whole box of hats, so we cleaned it up, got it ready. It'll go out in an 8x6x4 box. It's why I started buying this particular size to begin with off the eBay subscription site, because they were good for hats. Most of the hats I sell will go out in this box. So here you can see it'll go out under 8 ounces. And what I do is I put the hat inside of a bag, put in an air pillow, throw a piece of cardboard here so that they won't cut the hat when they're opening the box. And that's pretty much the way we send out all hats. Next item is a Washington State Patrol coffee cup. You can see the cup with no packaging at all is already at 12 ounces. Most coffee cups will tip the scale once packed and go over 1 pound and into the 2 pound range. I try to find unique ones like this one, but you couldn't sell this badge on eBay. eBay limits and restricts patches and badges for current first responders. I guess they want to limit fraud, people showing up at the door claiming to be one thing. But coffee cups with the same logo on it, not a problem. So a lot of these smaller coffee cups, once they're wrapped and the handle's protected, they'll fit in this 6x5x5. I turn the handle slightly to use the cross section of the box. I'll put some paper in around this to fill it up and pad it even more. If the cup is especially expensive or large, I'll put it in a cut down 8x8x8 box. And there you can see what I'm talking about. See how it went just over 1 pound? I could put it in a bigger box. I could put some more padding in it, as long as I'm paying for 2 pounds anyway. But I'll stick the label on it and send it. This cup only sold for $9.79 plus shipping. All right, now this is that Australian military plaque. What I did is I put it inside of one of those bubble envelopes, folded it over to put extra protection on the front, and then put the whole thing into a second envelope so that she's got 3-4 layers of protection. The edges are padded, and I'll see if I can find a box, a shallow box that's already the right size to do this. All right, so I found a box. This was a box that one of my own auction lots came into. So I've marked the depth I need. This will be the bottom here. And I've set this type of a scoring tool up, so I'll be able to get a nice clean line all the way around. I'll fold it, cut the flaps, and because it's such a nice thick box, it should protect the plaque. They paid about $37 plus shipping for that plaque to New York, so we want to make sure it gets there. And you can see I reduced that box down pretty shallow, and all this extra flap, we'll cut it off and we'll use it in some of our hat packs to, again, use it as a stiffener and to keep them from cutting a hat while they're opening the package. But let's see how this looks now. So yeah, you can see I'll put some crumple paper in there around that to keep it from shifting around, and I think it'll be very, very good. Now here's a trick I was shown a long time ago for making the long excess flaps meet if you want to trim them. What we're going to do here is bring this one over, and you'll notice how it's too long. It doesn't meet in the middle. So if we go like this, and then we draw, it's hard to do without a stand, but if we draw a line, using one flap as the guide, and we trim it to that line, and if you're doing this by yourself, you don't need to draw a line, you can just do it with a blade. But once we trim this much of the flap off, they'll come together just like they were factory made. And there you go. And we'll use the eBay tape to cover up some of these numbers, put the label right over top of it anyway, and it'll look good. And there you have it. Comes in under 2 pounds. The eBay tape covers up some of the old box markings. We'll put the label right here, and that'll cover up the rest of it. Now, as an alternative to this box, I could have wrapped it in corrugated cardboard and put it in this padded flat rate priority. It would have got there probably a little bit faster. But since both methods would come in under $10, just under $10, the box, I think, looks a little better. And here is that Federal Power book I saved that has the big map and the fold-out flow chart. Sold for $32.79. I was glad to save it. That's $32.79 plus shipping. Here's the actual book. It's got a cover letter in it. Some yellowed pages, but you can see that it's a government text, you can tell. But in the back, tucked here inside of here, is the big map and the fold out. And I'll open one of the photos. So you can see that's a 40-inch yardstick, the yellow yardstick between them. So the map's about 36 inches, the chart's even larger, but they were in the back of this old 1935 government publication. So we'll put the book in a t-shirt dust bag, we'll wrap it in some corrugated, and then put it in a poly mailer. And there you have it. I like to trim and fold the corners like this, and we'll just slip it into this poly mailer, weigh it, and get it on its way. This time it was a perfect fit. I don't even have to fold it over. I'll bring this tab up like this, tape it, get it weighed, and get a label on it. And with this packing method, it came in under 2 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade this one from the media that was in the listing to Ground Advantage. Should get there a little sooner, and it's insured.